Hey guys, it's Mystical Storms here. Sorry I've been not really online for a while. I've been just busy with life and lots of stuff going on. Just meeting my surgeon, dealing with stuff with work, school, and plumbing in my house. So it's been chaotic. But I'm sorry. I'm gonna be doing this one shot. I will be doing more of this series soon. I have one already recorded. I just have to do a few editing things, and then that should be ready to go. But aside from that, everything should be good. So this is a fanfic I found on TikTok because I have been finding most of my recommendation at the moment on TikTok. This is called Gentle Touch by Ively. I don't know if I'm saying that properly, but yeah. So it's rated mature, so it's gonna be, it's rated mature, and there's a graphic depiction of violence. Archive warning, so just so you know, it's a 4,100 word fic, so it's not too long, but yeah. Trigger warnings are dead and undead, descriptions of dying, and suicide baiting from Bakugo. The usual. So yeah. Also, the author, English is on the author's first language, so this should probably be good. Anyway, without further notice, let's start. There was this rumor that children who were ostracized by their peers were claimed by something, a being that exists and does not at the same time, something that is everywhere and nowhere all at once. Something other, like a whisper in the wind, faint, barely audible. She did not like to be found by those she did not like. Words of the being were passed among people. Some people would laugh about the absurdity of the rumors. Others would frown and look at the shadows out on the corner of the sidewalk, and many would not even hear about it, and sometimes a handful of them would smile. A smile sharp, the skin of their mouth stretching wider than normally possible, fangs that were not there before appearing between two bright teeth, like light reflecting in gleeful eyes. They knew of the being because she was theirs as much as they were hers. She would claim them when they were young, barely able to understand what was dancing between their fingers. She would sometimes watch over the youngest, she claimed, still in their crib. Others would be claimed when they were older, left alone in the dark, while she would hug their sobbing bodies with tendrils that were sharp but gentle. She would claim the children whose quirks or lack. She would claim the children whose quirks or lack of it would separate them from peers, children who were only 5 but oh so lonely. She did not like her children feeling sad and alone, so she would hug them day and night. She could be everywhere at once until they realized she was there, and then they knew they would seek her out themselves. And didn't that make her joyous? Looking for more moving shadows in the corner of their eyes, playing with black tendrils at their feet, something that should definitely not be there, but they loved more than anything. She preened every time one of hers would smile at her touch, beaming from a happiness she would bathe in. She was proud to be She was proud to be the one to make them happy. When their parents weren't even able to care for them, all she as well as she did. Her children, hers. She was known to be possessive. She knew not to speak of her to those she had not claimed. They knew not to make. They knew not to make. Her existence known for fear of others being frightened by her. Fear would make even the more righteous people hurt when they did not understand. So they kept quiet, and she stayed with them, hidden in the shadows. She was born thousands of years before she even realized she existed, and she would still exist for 1,000 of years after nothing but her was left. She was made from the dirt, the ground people walked on. She was born of moon and stars and the sun and dark. She was the lack of light, the darkness of the night. She was there before everything, so she had every right to claim and own what she decided was hers. They were her children before being their parents, and they were aware of the fact. If the way they'd seek her out when they had a problem before even speaking to the adults around them was any indication. But by being so close to them at all times, being so close to their bodies and mind, she always left behind a bit of her behind. Some of her shadows stayed even when she left. When her children walked, their steps were quieter, their eyes would shine even in the lack of light. Her children knew of each other, of the fact that they were not the only ones she cherished. They knew that they did not have to fight against each other because they were hers before they were anything else. Siblings, children of the same mother. They were something other before being human. Sometimes she realized she had a few favorite among her chosen children. She gave too much to. Even if she couldn't bring herself to feel bad about it, she knew that because she never let them stay hurt, or worse, dead. And every time she healed their wounds, every time she brought them back, she left a piece of what made her exist behind, in their heart, in their veins, and in their skin. So even when she was gone, the void would dance in their eyes, and their fingers would move like smoke. Incapable of keeping a human form, their heartbeat will slow down at times, even stop for a few moments. But they would still move, still talk, as if nothing was happening. She knew deep down that this was the case with one of them. A young one, she claimed, as soon as his eyes were filled with tears, crying in a corner, devoid of light, in a bed that was more cold than warm. Midoriya Izuku. Izuku, for as long as he remembered, had always been different from those around him. He thought at first he was the only one like this, and yet shadows around his feet spoke of brothers and sisters, siblings that shared the same curse. For as long as he could remember, he was hers. He knew of her existence in a way his mortal mother would frown when they locked eyes, as if she was looking for something more human in him, in the way the darkness seemed to follow his steps when he left her shadow in the morning. But Inka Midoriya was, if she did not seem to be aware of the fact, only his mother by blood, his real mother, something other, with tendrils that used to and still make him giggle in bed when sadness washed over him, was something else that his brain could not completely process, a mother without a body that he could not grasp completely and yet could envelop his hands with solid smoke. And vividly remember seeing her in the daycare a few weeks after he realized he would never have a quirk. Watching as everyone seemed to avoid the corner where the shadows seemed to dance, he was young and fully aware. How he didn't know that those shadows would leave as soon as he went home, because it was her watching over him, making sure he was safe from the people who would sneer at his face. Izuku did not have a quirk, but he had her, so everything was okay. When elementary school started, he already had the habit to play with the shadows under his desk. He would caress what he guessed were fingers, yet did not feel like it, and Izuku knew better than to try to explain her body with human words. Tendrils long and slick that seemed to escape the eyes of the others around him. The teachers used to pale a bit when they saw him. Even after many years, he knew deep down that she made him look different than the other kids. More like her, less like his mortal mother. And even if he disliked it, if in a world of quirks they would not accept what his mother gifted him, how was he supposed to love them like he loved her? He had wondered if he got lucky being quirkless, as he knew she would have turned around and wouldn't have come to him if he was like other kids. He decided to ask her at one point if she would have loved him the same if he was like everyone else. She did not speak, or at least not in a language he could comprehend, but he could feel her words. He knew what she meant. She told him that she would have not noticed his existence if he was born with a quirk, and she only loved those no one else loved. And well, he could live with that knowledge that he had indeed got lucky with not having a quirk, if it meant he got to meet her. And then, at 10 years old, 6 years after meeting her, he died. It was a small moment, a slow thing. He fell from a bridge, pushed by a man who hated people without quirks, and as soon as he hit the ground, he was gone. He wondered what happened to the man, as he knew she was not forgiving. Then came back, sitting on the grass, his mother enveloping his body. His hands felt cold, his body warming up now that his heart was beating again. The blood he lost going back into his body, filling his veins with a bit of her, and his wounds closing. He sat for a while, letting her do what she needed to do, waiting for her to tell him it was done. He knew better than to question her motives, as he already knew. She would not let him die until he wanted to. After a while, an hour, a minute, days, he got up and cleaned the dirt from his clothes, choosing to get help from her to get home. Unfazed by what happened, he walked to a corner full of shadows, too dark to be normal, stepped into it, and like his mother had taught him, in a second he was in his room. He smiled softly at the shadow at his feet, climbing up his figure. "Thank you," he responded, with tendrils caressing his ankles. He got the message. "For you, my child, I will do anything. I will do it again." By the time Izuku turned 14, he had already died 4 times. Second time he had died in a villain attack he decided to watch. The third, he plunged a knife in his throat and left it there, wondering what it would feel like to lose and reconstruct his vocal cords thanks to her. He did not prepare to die from blood loss, but, well, she brought him back anyway. The 4th time was actually because he wanted to see the stars and fell off a roof. He guessed that was his own fault for not checking the empty space between the building he was on and the building across. She had bristled at that, worried, but he felt her bringing him back, and he climbed up the stairs again to go see the stars. That's why he went there in the first place after all. He still apologized to the shadow clinging to him afterwards. He wondered if he would die a 5th time after Bakugo said, holding one of his notebooks in one of his hands, "You know, if you really want to be here that badly, there's actually might be another way. Just pray that you'll be born with a quirk in your next life and take a swan dive off the roof of the building." At that moment, Izuku crooked his head and wondered if he should tell him that he did fall from a roof not too long ago. He wondered if he should tell him that he never woke up with a quirk after dying. Just a little more of her in him. Maybe he could explain what he felt like when he died, his brain splattering in the ground and his limbs breaking from the fall. Instead, he just smiled, whispered a simple "okay," and left. At the same time, Katsuki felt a chilling in his bones. The smile Midori gave him was definitely not human. His eyes seemed to suck his soul in. He had not realized he was frozen on the spot until after he heard the door of the classroom close. Looking at the two other people in the room, their eyes wide and scared, he realized he was not the only one who was frightened, not by a villain, but by the very boy they spent their days tormenting. Maybe it was time to leave him alone, just so that they could avoid the feeling like this ever again. When the sludge villain encased his body, Izuku couldn't help but smile at the idea of finding out how it would feel to die by asphyxiation. Would some of the sludge enter his lungs? Would she destroy it or make it leave his body? Would she create a new pair of lungs like she did with his brain the last time he died? The anticipation of knowing didn't leave him until he started to feel fuzzy, no air passing through, making him lose consciousness, and then All Might saved them. And even with the knowledge of he was saved by his favorite hero, it didn't erase the sadness he felt at not knowing how it would feel to die this time. With empty eyes, eyebrows frowned, he looked at the hero. You didn't have to. Giving a surprised laugh, the man looked away, something with Izuku making him obviously uncomfortable. My boy, I'm sorry, but it's my job. I cannot leave you to die in the hands of a villain. All Might explained, looking at everything but him. Why? Izuku pouted. At her child's sadness, she pulsed a bit against his skin, bringing comfort. Why? The man sounded surprised. Well, it's normal for a hero to do so. Why would I not? And his words fell to a stop. He seemed to take his whole appearance, finally looking at his figure with a calculating look. He seemed to have found what he was searching for when he watched the tendrils moving against the skin. Oh, you're hers. With a shining in his eyes that did not look normal, Izuku whipped his head up at the hero's face. You know of her? With a sad smile, he nodded. I was once hers I was once one of her children. I do not think she likes the attention I am getting. She prefers the dark after all. Izuku crooked his head. You're too bright for her. He nodded. Yes, she always disliked being seen by too many. With a responding nod, Izuku stayed silent for a moment. Would you like to hold her for a bit? She seems excited to see you. All Might approached, but took a small step afterwards. I do not think it's wise. I've been staying with you for too long already. I have to go. What is your name? Izuku. I see you. I'll hope to see you again. And you too. He added, looking at the shadow that seemed to try to get closer to him. And then, as fast as he arrived, All Might was gone. Izuku looked at her, crouching down. Was he one of yours, even with his quirk? She hummed pensively, closer to the sound of purring, and answered. Izuku learned that day that All Might was quirkless once, and that his quirk was not always his, but is now. Izuku wondered if he could be like him too, being given a quirk. He also wondered if losing her was worth a power. She knew of Izuku's thoughts, of his longings for anything that would help him fight. She had always told him that he could become a hero with her help. She would do anything for one of her children. She did not want him to be like her old children, though leaving her for a spotlight she felt was unneeded. So she made sure to do something about it. She guided her old child and her young one, both quirkless, because even if Yagi had a quirk now, he couldn't change how he was born, and made sure the man would help build the path to heroism for her favorite. She had whispered her ideas for her children, once hers, always hers, to train his body for her child. Izuku, sweet Izuku that sung and read and played for her. Be able to fight. All Might had asked if he should give her favorite his quirk, and she bristled at him, unhappy with his idea, and it was shut down quickly. Izuku didn't even feel the need to argue. He knew better than to go against her. So instead the man offered to train him, and she told him that she would help him. She could not give him a quirk, but she could give him something other. After all, he was already more like her than the others who were acclaimed. What was a bit more? So, little by little, months by months, she entered his veins and organs, his brain, his fingers and eyes and bones, and he became hers, more than anything else. She wondered internally if he would become like her if she gave him enough of her essence. It wouldn't be bad to have a company of one of her favorite for eternity. She knew that she was not discreet in her gifts to her child, but he would simply smile, so it was okay. On the month of the entrance exam, her child was stronger, less human, and more utter. Izuku had taken the habit of looking at himself in the mirror most of the time. He liked to see himself, what was left of his mortal mother, and what was given by her. He noticed as months passed since All Might and he had crossed paths, that his appearance kept changing, trying to stay human and yet incapable of always keeping a mortal form. One day, he wondered if he still had a heart, after noticing it had stopped for a few hours already. In the end, when it started beating again, he brushed it off as a thought, but he brushed it off as though it happened, but that was okay. He was still alive, not breathing, but still alive. He noticed that his skin had lost color. It became more pale, as someplace translucid, leaving his veins visible for the whole world to see. While the blood was already darkened a while ago, it seemed that now it was more color of gasoline. He wondered if it tasted like it too. His eyes too had changed. They looked like glass, reflecting light and dull at the same time. Devoid of life, Izuku had been curious enough to touch them, and while it stung for a second, he noticed that it was less squishy than usual. He had asked her about it, and she just hummed in response, so he left it to that. His hands and limbs seemed to have a hard time staying in normal form. If he looked too long, his fingers seemed more like fog, less solid, and as soon as he looked away, they came back to their original shape. Curious. He liked it though, it made him feel like her. His mortal mother also seemed to want to spend less and less time with him than usual. Now that he was changing, she seemed to avert her eyes as soon as she caught sight of his figure, and it never failed to make her crackle. And he always quirked his lip in the ghost of a smile when she was that happy with something. He wondered if Inkle saw him more as a boy becoming a villain than the hero he was training to be. He figured he didn't really care for her opinion. On the day of the entrance exam, All Might smiled at him in his small form that he shown to Izuku a bit after they met. She told him to do so. He was not dumb enough to go against her wishes. Izuku decided to walk to the written exam with his head held high, even if he knew people would avert their eyes as soon as they saw his face. He was proud to make them uncomfortable, proud to make them sometimes do a double take, as if they were not sure if he was real. Being strange in a world of quirks used to be something he did not like. Now it was something he took pride in. The written exam was easy. He was almost sad at the fact it wasn't a challenge. And it seemed that the people sitting next to him felt his disappointment as they moved away. He didn't know that they felt something crawl next to them, coming from tendrils playing in their collar. She did not like that her child was not satisfied. "And you, stop mumbling, you're distracting everyone. One look from Izuku and Tenya Ida said nothing else. Then Izuku saw the robots. He almost wanted to laugh. Even with her, he did not have the necessary strength to fight against machines 4 times his height. So that's why, when it was announced that only a few minutes was left with a 0-pointer in his name, and the giant robot made his way through the rubble of the building previously there, he let out a crackle, eyes wide and gleeful with anticipation. He helped a girl stuck under what was left of a wall, and when he saw her run away from the robot ready to crush them, he stayed there, too wide smile on his face. That day, Izuku Midoriya died for the 5th time, crushed, and if you asked him if he would tell you what a feeling of reconstruction of his own body, previously spattered across the ground, was the feeling of reconstructing its own body previously splattered across the ground was the best he's ever had. He wondered if he would do it again. In the end, Izuku did not make it into the hero course, but since he took the exam for it, it was still accepted in general education. While he made his way there, he noticed that everyone moved away from his path. It was almost funny, but Izuku knew better than to laugh in the middle of the hall. He heard someone call him a villain, and the way she squeezed the poor soul's ankles, making them purse lips from phantom pain, was way too endearing. When he was stepping into the classroom, quiet steps, barely audible even to those who can hear better than everyone, he immediately met eyes with another one of them. He did not look away. Purple hairs that looked like smoke, fingers too long, dull eyes shiny like glass, just like his. He's just like him. They met halfway through the classroom, everyone taking a step back when they noticed them staring at each other, and Izuku was the first one to talk. "You have beautiful eyes. A gift of her?" he asked with a quiet voice, as if the words were taken by the wind, only for the other boy to hear. He smiled. "Yes, my name's Shinso Hitoshi. Who are you?" "Izuku Midoriya." The purple-haired boy hummed, way longer than he thought than he should then. "How many times did you die?" "5. You?" "7. When was the last time?" He cracked his head, his neck getting longer and smaller and longer. "When a robot crushed me at the entrance exam," Izuku smiled to relive the memory in his mind. Curious, Shinso stepped closer. "How did it feel like?" Izuku was happy to answer him, content that he had someone to share his experience, like being squeezed, like a lemon or something making juice with your body. Interesting. I might test that one day. Going to sit next to him, Izuku asked, What was your first step?" And they fell into a chatter. All the while, no one would make out the words that were being said, static filling their ears every time they tried to listen in. She did not like others spying on her favorites. When Aizawa Shota saw 2 students and Janet sitting close to each other, skin merging with each other at every moment, separating only a few seconds at a time, their shadows too long and too wide, he couldn't help but smile. And if he came up to them, tendrils following his steps, and playing with the kid's shadow while he offered to train them for the sports festival, well, no one needed to know. And it wasn't like it was forbidden. If he wanted to bring more of hers in the underground heroics, it was their problem and no one else's, and it wasn't like she didn't approve, with the way she purred every time her children sparred. After all, children of hers were always good for underground heroics. There was that rumor that children who were ostracized by their peers were claimed by something, a being that exists and does not at the same time, something that is everywhere and nowhere all at once, something other. Shinso Hitoshi and Midoriya Izuku were no exception. So I know this was short, and I hope you guys enjoyed. But yeah, So, sorry if I was stuttering and all, and sorry if there's any background noise. I have a pipe dripping water and some things in the background making noise for some reason. It won't stop. It's been like this for like a month now, and it's annoying. But you know, it is what it is. But yeah, sorry I haven't been online much. I will try being on more often and posting regularly once stuff gets stabled out. But like right now it's like 1:50 a.m. and I have work tomorrow. I have to be at work tomorrow by 10 a.m. and it's a Sunday, so it means I still have to wake up the next day after that for school. So yeah, bro, I have to work on Halloween. I had plans on Halloween and now I have to work. I have to go directly from school right away to work and then work till 9:30, and then I don't know what I'll do now. After that, I'm probably just gonna go home, binge watch some shows or something, maybe make some podfics for Halloween, like special Halloween ones, and that's about it, because nobody really wants to hang out at 9:30 at night on a school night, you know? From people who are in college to people who are just in high school, no matter what, it literally nobody wants to hang out after like around 10 at night. It's just, no. At least I wouldn't. I'm gonna already be tired for the next day, so. It is what it is, and I'll survive. Hey, at least I'll be in cosplay at work. I work at Michael's, the craft store, and I'll be in my Izuku cosplay. Well, I haven't finished it yet, but I'm almost done. I just ordered a wig, and I got to be hairspray finally. I found some for like $8 at Jean Coutu, a like pharmacy store that's in my province. I don't know if they have it anywhere else in Canada, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, okay, I'm gonna stop rambling. I've been rambling for a few minutes. But yeah, I am sorry I haven't been uploading much. Thank you for all the subscribers and all the ones that are coming in. I'm actually there's like 2 ways you can earn money on here. There's like the memberships with the supers and stuff like that, and then once you get to 1,000 subscribers, you can 1,000 subscribers and a certain amount of views, like for average, I think, of your videos or something like that. Not exactly sure. Then you can get money from ads. So I don't know, I might do the membership thing, but I'm not sure. Also, if you guys are interested, I am thinking of making a second channel for cosplay and stuff like that, and just random goofy ass cosplay stuff. They're mainly gonna be MHA because that's my main fandom for like years now. So, but you know, if you guys are interested, let me know. I'm gonna stop rambling now. I'm sorry. Please remember to sleep, hydrate, take care of yourself, huns, because you know, from experience, just get some sleep. Energy drinks are not enough to keep you awake 24/7. Like, okay, sorry, I'm gonna say one last thing. This morning, I woke up, got ready, went to do a photo shoot, take pictures of my friends in their cosplays, and then right afterwards, I had to go to work. After work, I went to the gym for 2 hours, and I got home, and I had to do dishes and clean up my room and fix up my phone, because I have to remove the back of my phone, unscrew everything, make sure everything's properly plugged in, put it all back together so I can charge my phone. To do that every few weeks. So it's been a long day, and I have a long day tomorrow, so hopefully I'll get some sleep after this. So yeah. I am busy. So, but I should probably be able to do some stuff tomorrow because I finish work at 5. And I'm not gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna go Monday instead, so I'm probably gonna get time to clean and do some podfics. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. Love you. Bye, and thank you for watching. And if you like, please like and subscribe. Bye.